Cleaning up my garage today, and I found some blocks. In particular, this is a EJ 253 block, case halves right here, and this is an EJ 205 or an EJ 20. And there's quite a few differences between these blocks here. Now this is similar to the EJ 255 and the EJ 257 that came in the STIs and the factory turbocharged Subarus. The only difference being that those had different pistons, different crankshafts, and a little cylinder, a little flake of aluminum here and here on the outside of cylinder support. As far as cylinder wall thickness and all that were the same. You could almost use EJ 253 case halves if you reinforce the cylinders somehow. You could probably use them regardless. I know people have, and they work pretty well. Either way though, 8 millimeters on the cylinder wall thickness. The EJ20, in my opinion, the EJ 205 specifically, is one of the best turbocharged, factory turbocharged engines Subaru ever came out with. Once you bulletproof them, biggest weaknesses were the oil pans and the oil pickups. The EJ 253 specifically and the EJ 255 came with better oil pans and better oil pickups. These would starve for oil around if you were on the track or taking a really long corner and the oil sloshed up to one side of the pan. They would starve and then they would blow up or throw a rod. So that was the biggest. If you took care of that, which when I built these for my Legacy GT, I just put the later version oil pan and the oil pickup from the EJ 253s. They were cheap and plentiful. But other than that, same rods, different pistons, different crankshaft. The pistons on these were actually thicker and had more material, longer piston skirts, bigger ringland than the EJ 255s, the 253s, the 257s, even in the WRX STIs. You know, in my opinion, the 25s were an inferior engine, and they used the same block casting Subaru did and basically bored them out from the same casting at the factory. So you have more material in this one. These came in other variants too. Probably the most legendary engine Subaru ever made was the EJ 207, which I would love to get my hands on one. Those were an EJ 20 semi-closed deck, which means they had that little flake of aluminum for cylinder support, but they were still really thick on the cylinders like these, 10 millimeter, maybe even more. And they had semi-forged internals. The earlier versions of them came like that stock from the factory, but they ran a higher compression ratio. I wish I had an original 205 piston to show you, but I don't have any here. I don't think. This is an EJ20 piston, but this is a JDM EJ20 piston, and this might even be from a 207, if it specifically is though, but it looks like 207 pistons, and it fits down in this bore nice. But yeah, the difference between the USDM EJ20 or the EJ205 is it has a square inlet, a recessed crown on the piston, and it's a square shape because they only came in that engine, and that was to lower compression because we have poorer quality gas over here. JDM EJ20 and the 205 are different in that regard, where they had higher compression pistons on the JDM versions. And like I said, the 207 was great in long block form. The heads were ported and polished from the factory. What else? They were single AVCS. I won't get into AVCS if you know what that is, or if you don't know what that is. It's basically cam timing, and they would advance the cams and retard the cams. The ECU does it. But yeah, a lot of difference. Less stroke on the EJ20s compared to the EJ25s. I think that's a good thing. These are faster to rev up into the higher RPMs. And less stroke is less stress on an engine. You know, stroke really adds stress. So taking this same casting and boring it out to a 2.5 and adding stroke on top of that really made these significantly weaker. If I were to build an engine again, I would start with an EJ20 platform if I were to build a Subaru specific engine. These came with 10mm oil pumps. It's a good idea to get a bigger oil pump if you are going to build one of these. Pull a 12 off a 255 or 257 block. Pretty much everything is interchangeable between these blocks. Cylinder heads, everything. Yeah, you'll get a weird shaped, you can actually bolt the cylinder heads from the EJ25 onto the EJ20. You'll just get a weird shaped combustion chamber, but people do it. The PVC, run a catch can. That's a good idea. Other than that, though, these are great engines. Really good engines. You know, you have to really abuse them or modify them to blow them up. Some people have negative opinions of them. They're not as appreciated as the EJ25s, and I just never understood that. You know, I think they're a far better base. I think they're one of the best engines Subaru ever made. It's not uncommon to see guys getting 200 or 300,000 miles on those factory turbocharged, you know, pre-05 WRXs that these came in, which is crazy for a factory turbocharged engine. Really, really good engines. I love these. And you can pick them up cheap all the time. And they really didn't have the head gasket problems that the EJ25s had. I think these came factory with the MLS head gaskets. Now, just a quickie on these engines and what I've learned about them over the years. This is another EJ20 block here. I have quite a few of these just laying around. This one I rebuilt and put in my Legacy GT for a little while, and then I took it back out, I put an EJ257 in there, and then I blew that up really quick and ended up going with another EJ20, and that is still in there to this day. The people I sold it to are running it. They actually there's a stroker kit for this, which make them really good. So you get, I think it ends up being like a 2.3 liter. Basically, you just swap out the crankshaft and the rods. I think they use EJ22 rods, and that turns these into a stroker. So you get all the benefits of the 2.0, but with more stroke and more displacement and more bottom end torque. I don't know. Yeah, you see one, or if you're building one for your turbo project or whatever, I love them. Highly recommend them. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you on the next one.